Tata has opened up a new battlefront in the CNG world. Yes, we're talking about a CNG automatic, and that is the version of the Tiago that is standing beside us. The car was launched recently, and today we have it here to drive. But that's not all we're going to do. Today, we're going to drive the car, we're going to check out the inside, tell you all about its features, and more importantly, we're also going to do a mileage test and tell you what its real world mileage is like. So, do stick around for that. The Tata Tiago CNG AMT is available in 4 variants, namely XTA, XZA Plus, XZA Plus Dual Tone, XZA NRG. This version also gets a new Tornado Blue paint scheme. Prices start at Rs 7.90 lakh and top out at Rs 8.90 lakh for the top of the line dual tone version. Powering the Tiago CNG AMT is Tata's 1.2-litre Revotron petrol engine paired with a 5-speed AMT unit. In petrol mode, this car develops 85 bhp and 113 Nm of torque, while in CNG mode, which is what we have today, the output is down to 72 bhp and 95 Nm of torque. In our fuel efficiency test, we tanked up the car with CNG, reset the trip meter, and traveled a fixed loop in both city and highway conditions. Tata officially claims a combined mileage of 28.06 km per kg. In our test, we got 21.1 km per kg in city conditions and 22 km per kg in highway conditions. Here are the complete test figures for the Tata Tiago CNG AMT. Now, as a car to drive, this Tiago CNG AMT is surprisingly sprightly. It's not what I expected at all. I was expecting that it will have some amount of performance, more than enough to do city, but out on the highway you'd need to put in a lot of effort. But this has surprised us. It's quite active. I mean, the Tiago as a small car to drive was quite nice to begin with, and this has carried on in that respect. Now, the CNG mode has some of the torque reduced. You get 113 Nm in the standard petrol guys, and you get 95 Nm in the CNG guys, and it feels very lively. Like, for example, right now I've got myself in third, and if I lay it down, this thing is picking up speed at a pretty decent rate. Now the gearing has been laid out slightly tall, which means that you don't get that significant head nod action that comes with driving an AMT. And Tata's AMTs have refined a lot since they came around in 2015 with the Zest and Bolt. This is actually pretty impressive. It's very smooth. They've managed to reduce the head nod action so much. Even if you mash down the throttle, it's pretty easy to go. One of the other places that makes this Tiago a nice fun car to drive, be it as the standard vehicle, as a CNG AMT, or now CNG AMT, is there's actually a nice response from the steering wheel. It's surprising considering that usually in this part of the market and in this budget, you get an overly assisted steering wheel that's meant to make in-city driving as convenient as possible. You do get a nice feel from it. It only requires about just about close to 2.5 turns to go lock to lock, which makes parallel parking and U-turns and things like that very easy, and really adds to this overall package. Now, in the larger scheme of things with the CNG AMT, it's a really nice city car to drive. The gearbox is responding surprisingly well. You get quick access to the torque, which means that the car is ready to roll at a good speed. And now with this steering, it's good fun to drive. I would say that as a whole, Tata's actually done a pretty nice job with making the CNG AMT, and hopefully this shouldn't be the last of the cars to come along, and it should encourage the competition actually to bring out this setup, given the popularity of CNG and how it will become popular in the future. Now, to switch from CNG to petrol or vice versa, it's actually really simple. It's just one button on the dash, and you go from petrol to CNG or CNG to petrol. You get a little CNG icon in the instrument cluster, and of course you get a separate CNG gauge. Now, honestly speaking, you don't feel a loss of, for want of better term, enthusiasm in the CNG mode. The car is still very lively to drive. it does get noisier, and you do feel a minor drop in performance. But other than that, it actually feels pretty normal to drive. Now, by our estimates, a majority of buyers for this CNG automatic will be city people, and in city conditions, even with these large in-city highways, car will perform absolutely with no problems at all. One of the noticeable things, well, I with the CNG and now with the CNG AMT is that the ride is on the firmer side, and I think Tata has done that to account for the additional weight of the CNG tanks at the back, especially when they're loaded up, so that the vehicle doesn't wallow around when you make turns or when you got to take obstacles and potholes and stuff. The ride, like you said, is on the firmer side, but it's not uncomfortable or it's not jarring, and it does aid a little bit in improving the dynamic driving experience. On the outside, nothing much has changed given that this is actually a higher spec variant of the Tiago hatchback. The major change that you can see is that it gets a new color which is called Tornado Blue. Currently, this is only available for the CNG, but we expect that it will come to the other versions later. Other major highlights of the top spec model include these hyper wheels, as Tata calls them, which aren't real alloy wheels as such, but wheel covers fashioned in that manner. There are no CNG badges as such anywhere except for one at the back, and there's nothing to denote that this is an automatic. A little understated, but works. Finally, because this is a top spec model, you get projector headlamps with LED DRLs. We're in the cabin of the Tata Tiago CNG AMT. More specifically, this is a top of the line Tata Tiago with all the bells and whistles that Tata has for this car, the likes of which include body colored embellishments for the AC vents, a 7-inch display for the touchscreen infotainment system. You don't get climate control, but you do get a temperature reading in the infotainment system. The instrument cluster, of course, is fully digital and has a little CNG reading as well as a CNG gauge. The other features include steering mounted audio controls as well as height adjustment for the driver's seat. We've driven the Tata Tiago CNG AMT, and here are a few things we found. First is, of course, the most important question that's on everyone's mind: "Kitna deti hai?" Or, as we say colloquially, what is the mileage? Now, officially, Tata claims a mileage of 28.06 kilometers per kg on CNG. In our real-world test, it achieved a mileage of 21.1 kilometers per kg in city conditions and 22 kilometers per kg in highway conditions. Now, that might seem a little far off from what Tata claims officially, but that's a really good number considering that this is the first in the segment and that the technology can only go up from here. We have no rivals to compare it to as such when we are looking at the mileage, simply because no one else has this powertrain at this moment. Like we said, there's AMT, there's CNG, but no one has combined both, and Tata has done that till now. And more so, Tata is now offering it not just in this hatchback or this Tiago hatchback that we have driven, but you can also get it with the Tigor as well as the NRG version. Obviously, looking at this, there's also a high possibility that it'll come to the Punch, that'll come to the Altros. It may just come to the Nexon too, though that's a turbo petrol engine, so that's an entirely different thought process. The other thing, of course, the car that we have looked at is a top spec Tiago, which means that it gets all the bells and whistles, and the feature list is pretty decent. You get touchscreen, you get AC, height adjustment for the driver's seat, projector headlamps, and while those aren't real alloy wheels, from a distance they do look pretty decent. Now, on the flip side, the refinement is not that great, especially in CNG mode. You can hear the car creak and groan a bit, but in this part of the market, that's not a bad thing at all. It's in the sense that this is the kind of expected refinement that you would get in this part of the market. The other thing, of course, is the second row experience and the boot space. Now, the boot space, Tata has managed to improve it by adding its twin cylinder technology. In terms of second row, this is a car mostly aimed at private buyers, which means that most of the time the occupants will be in the front seat. There's enough space in the back for two people, but it's nothing to write home about. So there you have it, our thoughts on the Tata Tiago CNG AMT. What do you think of the car? Do let us know in the comment section below. And also, before we sign off, here's a friendly reminder. Are you enjoying the content on our channel? Then do hit those like, share and subscribe buttons, and also that bell icon to be notified the instant we put out a new video. Thank you so much for watching. Take care.